Have you noticed how easily we get distracted today? You pick up your phone just to check one notification, and suddenly half an hour has gone by scrolling through social media. You sit down to study and your thoughts start drifting everywhere. You open your laptop to work, but somehow you end up watching random YouTube videos. If this happens to you, it doesn't automatically mean you have ADHD or any kind of disorder. Actually, this is more common than you might think. We now live in a world packed with distractions, making it hard to concentrate on a single task. Notifications, videos, songs, news, anything can pull our attention away. Our focus slips away, like water leaking from a bucket. In the past, paying attention to multiple things at once wasn't harmful. Our ancestors needed to constantly watch their surroundings for potential threats. This scattered focus was essential for survival. Today, however, it works against us. Research from the University of California shows that after just one interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes to regain complete focus. 23 minutes. Now think about how often you lose focus checking your phone, switching tasks, putting on music, or getting distracted in other ways. But what if there was a method to counter this? A way to train your brain to block out distractions and fully immerse in a task, to the point where everything else fades away. This method isn't a trendy productivity hack from a digital coach. It comes from the Zen monasteries of Japan and is called Ichigo-Zammai. Ichigo-Zammai is the practice of giving complete attention to a single task. It's deeply rooted in Japanese Zen Buddhism, and that's what we'll explore today. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank our new channel members for their support. I also want to express my gratitude to everyone who likes the videos, leaves comments, and shares the content. You're an essential part of this channel's journey. Thank you sincerely. Now I want to hear from you. What's your biggest distraction today? Is it your phone, social media, or even your own thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Back to the video. Chapter 1. The Story of Jake. Jake Morrison was 16 when he first realized he was falling behind in the race of life. He wasn't a bad student, far from it. In fact, he had a solid grasp of subjects like math, physics, and programming. The issue was that Jake struggled to focus. He'd sit down to study, and within minutes he'd be scrolling through Instagram. Opening his calculus book, his mind would drift to thoughts of how incredible it would be to work at Google. While watching a video lesson, he might pause halfway just to check the score of a game. Jake had a dream, a big, intimidating, almost impossible one. He wanted to get into MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the most competitive universities in the world, where some of the brightest minds are shaped. But there was a problem. His grades were far from meeting the requirements. While other students consistently earned top marks, Jake hovered in that middle range. Stuck in the zone between average and excellent, a C here, a B there, enough to pass, but far from enough to aim for MIT. His friends didn't help either. They loved making fun of him. Jake, you want to study software engineering at MIT and you can't even get a B in math? You're going to end up flipping burgers at McDonald's. They laughed, thinking it was a joke. But for Jake, every word hit like a punch to the stomach. On top of that, his parents were also pressuring him, not out of malice, but because they wanted him to push himself. Jake, you have potential, but you need to stop getting distracted. You need to take this seriously, and Jake knew it. He knew he had the ability, but he couldn't access it. Every time he sat down to study, his mind would betray him. You know that moment when you should be focusing, but your brain drifts into imagining all sorts of scenarios. Jake spent hours daydreaming. He pictured his graduation ceremony at MIT. He imagined his first day as a programmer. He pictured his friends apologizing for doubting him. Yet in the meantime, his math book stayed closed. The physics assignment remained untouched. And the dream, his dream, felt farther away than ever. Then one day, after receiving yet another low grade on a calculus test, Jake reached his breaking point. He was tired of being mediocre, tired of letting his parents down, tired of hearing his friends' jokes. But instead of retreating to his room and giving up, Jake chose to do something different. He decided to seek help. Chapter 2. The Meeting with the Teacher. The next day, Jake went to see Mr. Tanaka, the school's math teacher. A man in his 50s of Japanese descent, Mr. Tanaka was always calm and centered, with a presence that naturally conveyed peace. While other teachers had to raise their voices to control the classroom, Mr. Tanaka could simply look and everyone would fall silent. At the end of the day, Jake knocked on the door of the teacher's lounge. "Mr. Tanaka, may I speak with you for a moment?" The teacher looked up, removed his reading glasses, and gestured for Jake to come in. "Of course, Jake, please sit down. What's on your mind?" Jake took a deep breath. "Sir, I don't know what to do. I really want to improve my grades. I want to be a software engineer, but I just can't focus. I sit down to study and my mind keeps jumping around. I'm distracted all the time, my grades don't improve, and I get stuck in this cycle." Mr. Tanaka was quiet for a few moments, then smiled, not a smile of pity, but one that recognized something familiar. "Jake, can I ask you a question? When you sit down to study, how many tabs do you usually have open on your computer?" Jake thought for a moment. "I don't know. Maybe 10. And your phone? Where is it?" "On the side with notifications on." "And do you often try to study while thinking about other things, like planning what to do next or remembering something that happened earlier?" Jake blinked in surprise. "How do you know?" Mr. Tanaka chuckled softly. "Because I was exactly like that when I was your age." Jake's eyes widened. "Seriously?" "Seriously," Mr. Tanaka replied. "I grew up in Japan, and when I was young, I struggled to concentrate too. My mind was always wandering until my grandfather taught me something that completely changed my life." Jake leaned forward, intrigued. "What was it?" The teacher wrote something on a piece of paper and handed it to Jake. "Ichigo-Zammai." Jake looked at it, puzzled. Where is this from?" "Ichigo-Zammai. It's a concept from Zen Buddhism. It literally means complete focus on a single action. It's the practice of doing one thing at a time with full attention, as if you and the action are one." Jake frowned. "So just focusing on one thing?" "It's more than just focus," Mr. Tanaka explained. "It's about becoming the thing you're doing. When you're studying math, you're not Jake studying math. You are math. There's no separation. There's no you observing the task from the outside. You fully immerse yourself in it." Jake still looked confused, so Mr. Tanaka continued. "Let me put it another way. Have you ever started playing a video game and suddenly realized 3 hours had passed?" "Yes, that always happens," Jake replied. "That's because you entered a state of flow," Mr. Tanaka explained. "You were so absorbed that time seemed to disappear. Ichigo-Zammai is about learning to intentionally enter that state in any activity." Jake felt a shiver of understanding. "That actually makes sense, but does it really work scientifically?" Mr. Tanaka smiled. Yes. Today, neuroscience refers to this as mindfulness or the flow state. There are numerous studies showing that practicing focused attention can actually change the structure of your brain. It increases the density of the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for controlling attention. Mr. Tanaka opened a drawer and pulled out some printed articles. "Here, I have some materials for you. These articles explore Ichigo-Zammai alongside behavioral neuroscience techniques. Take them home, study them, apply what you learn, and see the results for yourself." Jake took the papers, his hands trembling slightly. He couldn't explain why, but something inside him told him this could change everything. "Thank you, Mr. Tanaka. Truly, thank you so much." The teacher placed a hand on Jake's shoulder. "Jake, you have what it takes. You just need to learn how to focus your attention. Once you do, nothing will be able to stop you." Chapter 3. Applying Ichigo-Zammai that night, Jake didn't get much sleep. He stayed up late, reading the articles Mr. Tanaka had given him. The more he read, the more it all made sense. One article explained how the brain works. With every distraction, every notification, every task switch, the brain uses energy to reset and refocus. The more often this happens, the more the brain trains itself to be distracted. Another article introduced the Pomodoro technique, combined with Ichigo-Zammai, as a practical way to build sustained focus. Blocks of a few minutes of full, uninterrupted focus, followed by 5 or 10 minutes of intentional pause. No picking up your phone during the break. No checking social media, just breathing, stretching, drinking water, and being fully present. Another article covered choice architecture, essentially, shaping your environment to make distractions nearly impossible. Keep your phone in another room, turn off notifications, open only one tab, and focus on a single task at a time. Jake realized that Ichigo-Zammai isn't just about doing one thing at a practical level. It's about fully immersing yourself in whatever you're doing without splitting your mind. When you sweep the floor, you are the act of sweeping. When you eat, you are the act of eating. Zen monks apply this principle to everything, from simple chores like washing dishes to formal meditation. There's a well-known Zen saying that captures this perfectly. When I eat, I eat. When I sleep, I sleep. It sounds simple, but how often do we eat while thinking about work or go to sleep while dwelling on problems? Our modern culture celebrates doing 1,000 things at once. Ichigo-Zammai is the exact opposite. The principle is that when your attention is divided, you're not truly present in any activity. You become superficial in everything you do. From this perspective, when distractions inevitably arise, the practitioner simply notices, "My mind wandered," and gently returns to the task at hand. No guilt, no frustration, just a continuous practice of bringing the mind back. After learning all of this, Jake realized something important. He wasn't weak or lazy. He realized he had simply never learned how to manage his attention. And from that day on, he decided everything would change. The following Monday, Jake came home from school and did something he had never done before. He created a ritual. He placed his phone in a drawer in another room, turned off all computer notifications, and closed all browser tabs except the one with his study material. He set a 25-minute timer and took 3 deep breaths, then he began. The first 5 minutes were brutal. His mind screamed, "Check your phone. Did anyone text you? Open YouTube quickly!" But Jake remembered what he had learned. When distraction arises, you don't fight it. You simply observe it. My mind wants to wander," he reminded himself, and gently brought his attention back. He repeated this about 10 times during the first 25-minute block. By the second block, distractions had noticeably decreased. In the third, he reached a level of concentration he had never experienced before. When the timer rang, Jake checked the clock and couldn't believe it. 75 minutes had passed. In that single session, he had accomplished more than he normally did in an entire week. He felt a surge of energy, a sense of control he hadn't felt in a long time. In the days that followed, Jake continued the ritual. Every day after coming home from school, he followed the same process, reinforcing the habit and deepening his focus. Phone put away, environment set, deep breathing, full focus. Jake didn't stop there. He applied Ichigo-Zammai to everything. When he ate, he fully concentrated on the act of eating, without watching videos or scrolling on his phone. When he spoke with someone, he was completely present. On his walk to school, he noticed the sounds, the colors, the movement around him. He realized he had spent most of his life on autopilot. And now? Now he was fully awake. His friends immediately noticed the change. "Jake, man, you don't hang out with us anymore. Is everything okay?" Jake smiled. "Everything's great. I'm just focused on something bigger right now." They didn't understand, but Jake didn't mind because for the first time, he was actively building the future he wanted, instead of just dreaming about it. Then came the first math test after his transformation. Jake sat down, read the questions, and entered the state of Ichigo-Zammai. He wasn't Jake taking the test. He was mathematics flowing through him, solving itself. When the professor returned the tests the following week, Jake froze as he looked at his paper. He had earned an A, something he had never achieved before. From across the room, Mr. Tanaka smiled, and in that moment, Jake understood everything. This was only the beginning. Chapter 4. The climb from high school to MIT. The following months were a roller coaster. Jake practiced Ichigo-Zammai every day, and his grades steadily improved. An A in physics, an A in chemistry, an A in programming. His parents were stunned. "Jake, what happened to you?" they asked. "I just learned how to focus, Mom," he replied. But that wasn't all. Jake had discovered something far deeper. He realized that discipline isn't about willpower, it's about systems. It's about creating an environment and a routine that make failure nearly impossible. He also understood that distraction isn't the enemy. It's just a signal to gently bring the mind back. Distraction is simply a signal that your mind is tired, bored, or anxious. Once you understand that, you stop fighting it and start working with your brain, not against it. At the end of the year, Jake applied to MIT. His friends still teased him. "Dude, you've improved, but MIT? That's crazy. Do you know how many brilliant people get rejected every year?" Jake just smiled. "I know. But I also know I'll do my best. The rest is beyond my control." He applied the same philosophy to test preparation, SATs, essays, programming projects, everything, focusing fully on each task in its own time. Then, 6 months later, in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, Jake received an email. "Congratulations, you have been admitted to MIT." He read the sentence 3 times before believing it. Then he screamed. He screamed so loudly that his parents came running into the room. "I got in. I got into MIT." His mother began to cry. His father hugged him tightly. And Jake? He felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the acceptance, but for having learned something far greater than any college could teach. He had learned to master his attention, and those who master their attention master their lives. Chapter 5. Beyond MIT, the journey continues. Getting into MIT was extraordinary. But Jake soon realized something. Being there alone wasn't enough. The level of demand, the workload, the competition, it was another universe. Yet Jake had an advantage. While other students struggled with distractions, procrastination, and anxiety, Jake had Ichigo-Zammai. He maintained his daily ritual before studying. A clean environment, phone put away, 3 deep breaths, and then full immersion. He applied the technique to everything: programming projects, algorithms, classes, group work. His teachers began to notice. "Jake, your attention to detail is impressive. You don't miss a thing." Jake had grasped something fundamental. Talent matters, but attention is power. During his 4 years of college, he wasn't necessarily the most brilliant student, but he was among the most consistent, and over time consistency outweighs disorganized genius. He graduated with honors and soon landed a job as a junior programmer at a tech company. He could have relaxed at that point, thinking, "I did it. Now I can slow down." But he didn't. He had learned something essential. Everything is a process. There is no finish line, only the next step. Jake applied Ichigo-Zammai to his work. Every line of code was written with full attention. Every meeting he attended, he was completely present. Every project, he fully immersed himself. Within 2 years, he was promoted to full-stack programmer. 3 years later, he became a senior programmer. By 28, he was leading a team. His colleagues often asked, "Jake, what's your secret? How are you so consistent?" Jake always gave the same answer. "I'm not smarter than you. I've just learned to eliminate distractions and be fully present. One thing at a time, with complete attention." Chapter 6. The science behind it. But wait a minute. You might be thinking, "Okay, nice story, but does this really work? Or is it just motivational talk?" Let's look at the facts. A study by neuroscientists at Harvard University found that regular mindfulness practice, which is exactly what Ichigo-Zammai promotes, increases the density of gray matter in the prefrontal cortex. In other words, your brain physically changes. The areas responsible for planning, impulse control, and focus become stronger. Another study from Stanford University showed that people who practice focused attention experience up to a 40% reduction in activity within the brain's default mode, network. This is the network that stays active when your mind drifts. When you're thinking about the past, the future, or simply getting distracted. In other words, practicing Ichigo-Zammai literally quiets the brain's distraction center. And there's more. A neuroscientist specializing in neuroplasticity explained in an interview, "The human brain is incredibly adaptable. When you consistently train your attention, you're not just improving a skill, you're rewiring neural circuits. You're creating information superhighways where before there were only trails. Every time you bring your focus back when it wanders, you're literally strengthening your brain." This isn't mysticism. It's pure neuroscience. Combining the Pomodoro technique with Ichigo-Zammai has been adopted by programmers, writers, and creators. Why? Because it works. By removing distractions, working in focused time blocks, and returning your attention whenever it drifts, you're giving your brain a workout. Just as muscles grow when you lift weights, your attention strengthens when you train it. And here's the most remarkable part. Ichigo-Zammai isn't just about productivity. It's about truly living. Think about it. How many meals have you eaten without noticing the taste? How many movies have you watched while checking your phone? How many conversations with loved ones have passed while your mind wandered? We're living on autopilot, letting life slip by while our attention is scattered, and Ichigo-Zammai awakens you. When you learn to be fully present, you don't just work more effectively, you live more fully. Food tastes richer. Conversations carry more meaning. Experiences feel deeper. It's almost like stepping out of the matrix and seeing the world clearly for the first time. Here's a detail that might surprise you. Studies show that people who practice mindfulness report significantly higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. Why? Because true happiness doesn't come from acquiring more. It comes from being fully present with what you already have. Jake understood this, and it transformed everything. So where is Jake now? He still works at the same company and continues as a team leader. But more importantly, he is a completely different person from the 16-year-old boy who couldn't focus for even 5 minutes. Jake began teaching Ichigo-Zammai to his team, and he witnessed the same transformations. Team members who were once average started producing outstanding work. Those who struggled under stress found mental clarity. And here's the important part. Jake isn't special. He didn't have an extraordinarily high IQ, a wealthy background, or influential connections. He learned one simple principle that most people never master: how to direct his attention. Here's a truth rarely spoken. Success doesn't come from having more time. It comes from using the time you already have more effectively. It's not about having extra resources. It's about focusing on the ones you already possess. It's not about being smarter. It's about being fully present. Because in the end, life is a collection of moments. If you're not present in them, you're not truly living. You're just watching life pass by. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future content. I also encourage you to explore the other videos. They may help you as much as this one did. And remember, one thing at a time, full attention. That's how you change the game. Be present. Walk with purpose. Follow the path. See you in the next video.